Hello, and welcome again to another video. This time, as you can see by the sign, it's going to be building mechanical devices. So if I just walk into the little building area I've gotten ready, there's going to be three things I'm going to demonstrate sort of building. One is a door. That will be using rails. If I move around here, I'll be doing one using pistons and a lift. There we go. And then a canopy for those of you building spaceships. And I realized it looks similar to the one in the loading screen graphic. There we go. Whoops. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate building each of these, and then at the end of it I've got a few more over there just to add some flavor to some stuff I've been experimenting with. Right, so before we get into it, there's a useful tip for if you're ever building something and you're finding that this is a bit too slow. Even if you're holding down shift to move fast or to run, you can press F3 and that'll bring up the debug options window, and you scroll right to the bottom, ignoring everything, and click on allow fast move keys. Then after you close that, I'll bring that up to move the mouse. You can see where the mouse is, the bottom left corner is fast speed times 1. What you can do is you can use the square brackets next to the letter P on the keyboard, or below the equals, and you can see that it increases the number. And yeah, it makes it really useful for traveling around. If I'm building spaceships like that one up there, I usually have it on ×3 or ×9. Because yeah, it's just handy. But yeah, so if you find that useful, that it'll help speed up your builds. Now on to building. We've got a nice little door here. I've made it a bit more complex than necessary because I've got a rail down there and a rail up there, and that's just moving these two halves of the door. Behind there is the control logic. I like to usually hide stuff just for the aesthetic of it, and you can see the gap there. Now I prefer building things where the pieces that move around or slide into something actually slide into a gap, because I don't know, it's just more realistic. The components I'll be using are in here, in this menu there, and up here mechanisms. There we go. So I'll be using a sliding rail, small, which is already in our hotbar. So let's get to building. So we'll drag that across there. Yeah, let's have it that length. Now before I get into that much detail, that flat plate there is where you build things on. If I press F on this one, this is one of the few which actually will respond if you highlight and press F. It will slide backwards and forwards. If I put a block there thinking it's going to slide with a rail, it doesn't. It misses completely. So you've actually got to make sure the mouse is on that plate when you click, and then it moves with it. Again, if I put another block there, it'll actually clip through it, so it's something to be aware of. So whenever you build anything more onto any sort of rail or a rotator or hinge, there's a part of it which is doing the business, and you've got to make sure to click on it at each time. So from there you can see the whole thing there. One of the problems, if I just demonstrate, is if you've got a wall behind there, or just like that part there, and you think, oh, I'll just add on to that door there, and mouse just moves onto that. You think you've done it right, you draw the door, yay, move away, wire everything up, turn it on, and yeah. So get rid of those. Now what I'm going to be doing is copying that one. So it's going to move that way. I'm going to turn that round, move across. Now the height, if I just make sure to remember the number, if I go too high, as in a number 2, then that's where I want it to reach. So you can see it'll slide back like that. Now if I make sure that's highlighted there, how far does it go? Yeah, that's good. I am going to do a little bit of doorway movement. So there's 2 or 225 because I'm already a block high. Go across. That one there. And one down there. Cool. I've probably made this one a bit narrow, but for now that'll do. Right. Oh, yeah. I'm getting lost in my own menus. There we go. So if I go across there, go 3 across. I'm just setting it up so I can get this next rail in. Now it doesn't matter if I go upside down, because of the orientation of the blocks, it's swapped that round and it's orientated the right way. If it was done wrong, so if I press R, you can see it rotates where the arrows go. Now I must have done it right, so I've done 2. There is the wrong way round. So if it does either go the wrong way round, yeah, press R. There we go. Got that there. And then making sure to attach onto that block, have it orientated the right way. When you're dragging out a block, you can see the arrows highlighted on that block. If you press R, it changes the axis you're sliding up and down on. So normally it's sort of X and Y, but pressing R will swap to the Z axis. And you can stretch that all the way down, and that one down to 2.0. And there we have both sides of that door. That slides in and out. There we go. If I drag that down, make sure to connect to that block. There we go. Gone a little bit narrower, but I wasn't exactly trying to go by the numbers. Now, let's just make things a little bit tidy. I can build onto this, and we'll build up the logic in a second. A bit untidy, but never mind. Right. Now I won't cover that up there just at the moment. So that still works. That still works. Good. Now we need to get some of the logic out. I'm going to be using a switch which will control both of those. So this is just going to be a basic on and off switch. And I can drag and drop that. I'm using the link tool. And again, I can drag and drop to that one there, and it snaps to it. So now when I press F, both rails will activate at the same time. I mean, an extra simple door, if you wanted to do one, would just be drag that there, connect that there, up, zoomp, and then you've got a really simple door to just link into. So right click there, right click. Now, that's fine if you've got yourself just on one side of the door, but if I go through there and out the other side, how do I close it? Do I wire up a button? Well, let's try that. So I put the button together there and drag that round to here. It's a nice connection there. And then I can press that and it opens and closes. Quite nice. But if I want to have everything looking nice and sort of aesthetic in a sense, so on here you can see there's a single button there and a single button there, opens and closes. I kind of want the same on here, so let's bring out another button. Put that there, probably the wrong height. Go over to here and we can see that it won't allow a second connection to connect to that switch, which is incredibly frustrating. But there is a solution. You bring out one of the logic gates, which is down here, that one there, just called logic gate. Make sure when you move up to it, press F, let's select all. Now, what we do is we go back to that first button. You can see it's still connected to the switch. There we go. I'm going to drag from there back to that switch and disconnect it. So it's no longer there. Then what I do is I go from that OR block to the switch, and now that is the primary feed to that switch. Now an OR block, no matter how many, if you've got 5 connections to it, if one of the connections is sending power, then it will send the signal through. That's what an OR block does. It just says any connection will send power. So I drag from there to that OR block, and I take from there into there. Oops, missed. There we go. Now that OR block is accepting connections from both buttons and is sending whatever comes through straight to the switch. So now I can go there, open that door, close again, go around to the other side. I can open and close it again. So if I do a little bit of tidying up. Now, handy thing about using the small blocks is when you paint them, it paints them all in one go. And depending on what you're trying to do, that can be frustrating, but decals are good for that. And yeah, so that is the door. I tend to like hiding the logic pieces behind sort of other connections. There we go. Just makes it neat and tidy. And that is a door. I missed a bit there. Let's move around to the lift. Now the lift is using a piston, one of these. There we go. Let's make sure. There it is. There's piston small. That one there. Now these, as you see, it's building on a similar logic as the door. So you've got the switch, which is connected. If I get the right thing. The switch which is connected to the piston and is controlled by an OR block, and the OR block has two buttons going towards it. Now if I go to the right thing, now make sure I'm not going to hit anything. I'll click that down there, and again similar to the previous one, that is the point to go attaching things to. Yes, now this one, because you can configure it, will just bring up a menu if you go to it and press F. In this case, I'm going to go to it. The maximum for these small ones, if I change that to 16, is 4. Alright, now I need to bring out a switch. There we go. Rotate that round. And connect to it. There we go, it's a bit more fussy. There we go. That's a height of 4, and that corresponds to these plus marks on the wall. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up there. The larger pistons, which are these ones, oops, not that. Those can extend up to 16. Oops, not 216. Yeah, it does safety limit it, as you've spotted. Let's build on top of this one. I'm going to go across to there. Whoops. Change the axis. Whoops, there we go. And just a little bit extra here. There we go. I can just make things look a bit pretty. Again, I've made this one all too different from the first one, but on the fly demonstration. Put that there. There we go. And then we'll just do a little bit of a test. Goes up, and only it goes up, which is always good. I managed to get it right. And then you can decorate it with other elements. So if you did want to have this as a platform that you can control as a player coming up to it, you can just put a little control there. Put that there. Rotate that round. Yes, alright, need the logic. Put that in place. Make sure it's OR. I don't know why I check that each time. Connect to there, to there, to there. And now you've got a platform that can go back up and down. And it can push you up as well. Of course, because I've got my movement method to anti-gravitation, if I press F again, it just disappears down. But you get the idea. That is a piston-based up and down platform. You could have built this using a rail as well, but I thought I'd demonstrate. So here we go, there's a rail. Put that there. Now you can see that doesn't quite go all the way up. But what you can do So I've got it selected here, that one there, sliding rail small add-on. Oh, let's get rid of that, it's too bright. There we go. Now it'll only appear as a highlight if you're actually on the end of a rail, and then you can extend it. And for the small blocks, as I said earlier, there's a limit of 4. You can then press F, and as you see it go up, it slides past that point and back down. Oops, move closer to it. You can't control that one with pressing F, but you can control the original. So yeah, really, if you wanted to build a platform, make sure that you select that piece. And the speed of the rails is dependent on how many blocks is on there, or at least it seems so. It seems that way. And there's a nice little bit of sort of hitbox, or at least collision detection, as you can see by the fact that it's hit that top rail. So send that back down. But yeah, so 2 methods for doing pistons. Moving on to canopies, and let's see. There we go, it just rises up, and then you can go onto a seat and go in. I also realised they could be handy for sleep capsules, or when the med bay goes to main branch, because at the moment I'm working on the experimental branch. Be able to build a nice sort of open and closed canopy around one of those med bays. But let's continue with the sort of the build tutorial. So if I stretch that up there, get out a hinge, you can see now these can stretch sideways, and that's all they're going to do. Now let's get the logic in place. So I'll put a switch, and we're going to use a sequencer gate. Which if I scroll down, there we go, that's those there. Now these ones, you won't be able to access their menu until you've linked them to something. So you go from there to that, it snaps to it, and you'll be able to see the off state and the on state. Now if I, for example, to show you how it is normally, if I connect a switch straight to it, turn it on, goes all the way one side, you turn it off, and it just sweeps all the way back to that side, which in this case isn't useful. I want to stop at the 90 degrees. So if I go from there to remove that, back to there, whoops, there we go. Now off state, as we saw, I want 90 degrees, so I'll put that in. Now at the moment there isn't a way to determining whether that's 0 or whether that's 180. I suppose I could figure it out from there that must be 0 because I've turned the switch off. So let's see, the on state, I don't want it to be at 0, I want it to be at 180. Or let's shave it back to 140. So it lifts up, it'll look like it lifts up slightly. Now have I connected that? No, I haven't. Let's go from there and let's turn it on. So it goes past 90 and lifts up to that angle. If I turn it off, it stops at, well, the 90 degrees. So if I move that out there, now I need to go get some canopies. Further down here they are, windows and canopies. I'll drag that one out over the piston since I've already used it, and over there. Now these ones can be a bit fiddly at first to use. Get it around to the orientation I want, there we go. Now these ones actually can stretch a little bit. Let's see, you can go that way or lock the axis and switch and scroll out that way. So let's have fun and just make a really long canopy. Get this one in place. Now it'll stretch out sideways like that until you press R to change its axis, and then it seems to go like that. So maybe I should report that, I don't know, it doesn't matter at the moment. You can see, just press R until you get the right orientation you want. So we've got that laid out there. Now let's get that just tidied up there. Get that there. Through there. So that's attached to there. If I then turn it on, and the whole thing lifts up, really, yeah. Da -da -da, da -da. Let's just do a little bit of tidying up. Oh, send that back up. It's easy to orientate it like this, and then add a few things. Again, all the time making sure that you're either that the block is actually going onto the structure you're dealing with. You can see how the block changes orientation depending on whether it's the original object or the child object, if we use the terminology of the game. I'll move that down there, and I'm going to put that out on the outside. Really, completely up to you how you build your canopies, but this is pretty much how to do it, or just an example of one of the many ways of doing it. You can either have these canopies sliding out or moving in. Oh, I've done that wrong. Anyway, there we go. That is just an example of using a hinge. From there, back to there. Again, I can go back into the sequencer, increase that all the way to 180, and then that will just fly all the way to the top. At the moment, you can only have one particular thing going into a sequencer, and one sequencer controlling a hinge at a time. You can't have multiple sequencers, so you can set these to different angles. You can do something with one of these blocks here. I'll put it on upside down. Alright, there we go. If I get that and remove its connection, back there, come on. Then put that one in. So if I go to about there, it will change it that way. But you will reach a situation where, well, I suppose, yeah, it will impact on those blocks, so it will stop itself moving. So if you did want to do some slider-based hinge, that's entirely up to you. So let's move on to just a few examples of things I've been playing with. You can see here I've got a drawbridge set up, and it just goes down. It's pretty much like the hinge on the canopy. Just got that set up for the particular angles, because sometimes you put down a hinge and the 0 and 180 degrees will be opposite way around. It just take a little bit of figuring out. There we go. And one of the things I decided to play with are the sliding switches and the pistons. So we've got here a whole series of pistons and a maglock on the end, and we've got my I suppose building up a sort of a junkyard of old pieces and bits of space station I was playing with. So if we get that out to there, you can see that slides out. Let's go a bit further. Because these pistons can only go 16, I ended up sort of doubling them up. Now let's move it sideways. I'm going to try and pick up that piece there. A bit too far. It's like one of those fairground or carnival machines. So I've got that there. I think I'm still too far. Let's move back a little bit. Extend that down. Oh, that's just about right. There we go. Now turn it on. Yay, it's locked. Back down. Lift that up. Now let's see, where can I put this? Oh, let's bring it all the way over to there. Bring it a bit closer. I don't want to clonk it on the ground too much. There we go, turn that off. Yay! And send everything back to the beginning. Oops, wrong, it's all gone wrong. There we go. Forgetting to control my own contraptions. And there you go. Hopefully you've managed to find something useful out of this video. Let me know in the comments if there's anything else or any particular mechanisms you want me to try and make. I have been attempting to do an orbital facility where you've got a like a habitation ring which is constantly rotating, using two sets of maglocks to take their turns locking onto it while a rotator spins round, but that's very messy and you get a message every time a maglock connects and disconnects, so that's that. I am planning to do one showing how to just make some navigation lights. I know I did that in the logic circuits one, but I want to do one which is, so at a press of a button when you jump into a spaceship, say one of the hotkeys, and it'll just program in a nice blink sequence or something for you. Other than that, I think I've covered what I've planned to cover in this video, so yeah, see you in the next one.